Hey, and welcome back to the branding behind Alex Hormozi's $100 million launch. My name is Cynthia Kita, and I am your brand strategist, designer, and educator here at the Design Firmacy, your number one business pharmacy. And we're continuing on with our next brand vital. Now, we're going to talk about branded experiences, and that's a lot about how your audience feels about what you're doing. So, to be very honest, most book launches are very quiet, but Hormozi or Alex Hormozi turned his into a record breaking global event with over 113,000 people live. He had that suspense, he had secrets that he revealed, and that wasn't just an event, it was a branded experience through and through. So let's get into it. Number one, he had a record breaking framing. So he made an attempt to break, I believe he said 2 world records, although I'm not completely sure what the second record was. And he made the attempt to do that live with his over 113,000 attendees. So he framed the event as a world record attempt, and he brought in the Guinness World Record judges so that we could actually see that this is real, this is happening. So because he did that, the attendees were suddenly not just watching. So sorry, pardon me. We went from just watching the event to being a part of history. And so it wasn't just about watching a launch anymore. It was about, trying to achieve something, trying to break that world record with him. We became part of it. And we were essentially a part of history, which we'll get to. So number two was community or is community engagement. So we had a lot of live chat prompts. He was actually speaking to us. He wasn't just teaching a class about his book. So you would see him saying, hey, drop a 1, 2, 3, or 4 in the chat. And, we had some polls in there as well. And so he allowed the audience to partake and not just watch. He allowed us to feel as though we were a part by expressing ourselves. Some people did a bit much in the comments, but those who were there, for the right reasons, really involved themselves and engrossed themselves into what he was actually teaching. And so that simple interaction of having people put a number in the chat or having people fill out a poll right through the chat made thousands of people feel personally included. Now, the next was suspense and reveal. So these secret projects. So he teased the secret project that he was working on that was better than an NFT and less than a Bitcoin, helped to build anticipation, and it kept the audience engaged. So he actually met with a number of business owners and spoke to them about their problems. And they didn't know what he was going to do with that information, but he essentially used that information to create tools that would solve their problems, which were made available to those advanced players. And so, he let us in. He was storytelling a little bit and saying, hey, this is what I've been working on. And this is the what it produced. I was working on this and then it allowed me to produce Y. I was working on X, it allowed me to produce Y. And so all of these reveals were just a great amount of the experience when it came to him. Like once he got, the beginners handled and settled with their freebies, then he moved on to his advanced players, and he had this whole display, this black display, where he was explaining the offer, having them donate the 200 books in order to get, the mega pack. And so, he would bring out something from behind the table and place it on there, and then bring out another one. Okay, you have this playbook, bring out another, and this playbook, and another playbook. I mean, he had several playbooks that were made available for those advanced players who decided to donate books. And so by having that, reveal, which was also a part of the secret project, helped with the experience, because while a lot of people were watching the launch just to see what it was about, the other half of the audience was actually taking notes and learning from his delivery as well. And so it definitely gave people like me an opportunity to see what sales actually looks like from a different perspective. Number 4 was participation, leading to a sense of belonging. And so his viewers weren't just watching. Again, we contributed to history. So a lot of people probably didn't say, hey, I was just watching the launch. Instead, they felt like, I was in his launch. I was a part of it. I helped to set history. And so with his Guinness World Record, he wanted to be, I'm probably going to get this wrong, but the number 1 person, or the most books sold in nonfiction. I believe that was the category. And he made it very clear over and over that all of the people who had won that record were all politicians and people, in that category. And so I believe he named George Bush, Bill Clinton, Michelle Obama, Barack Obama, and then Prince Harry was number 2. And then he said he felt like, again, going back to that mission, and his purpose and his vision, like, we're the ones who are holding up the economy. That title should really belong to one of us. And so he really wanted to go, not just beat Prince Harry, but wanted to exceed his number. So I believe he had to beat 1.4 million within 24 hours. And he totally exceeded the number. Even days later, he's now at over 3 million books sold. And so even with him winning, or I don't want to say winning, but like successfully achieving that goal, even then he was saying to the audience, I want one of you guys to beat me next based on what you learn in my book. And so it further proves his brand is not just about him. It's not just about his goal. It's not about the flashy things, but it's about helping the underdog to rise above everyone else. And I thought that was so selfless of him. And it was selfless because that's truly who he is. I'm learning, at least, because that's what he's shown consistently. I mean, you can pretend to care about people for only so long before the true you comes out, right? But you could see that this has been consistently shown throughout his branding experience. As he's built his brand, you've just seen that throughout. And I had the opportunity to witness that, over the weekend, seeing him coach people, through the phone over and over and over, and help them to level up in their businesses, along with leveling up the beginners as well. And so with that said, your experiences transform your audience into communities. They go from just being onlookers to being a part of your cause when they feel like they're a part of something that's much bigger. And that's where your brand core comes in. You cannot build a brand without that core, that purpose, the vision, and your values, because that sets the tone for everything else that you do within your brand. So a launch isn't just about releasing something, but it's more so about creating a moment where your audience feels like they actually belong to your story. And that is the most beautiful part of it all. All right. So people may forget about your post or your price, but they'll never forget about how your brand made them feel. And so if your audience isn't coming back, it's not because your product isn't actually good, but it's because the experience isn't strong enough. And the Brand Vitals assessment will show you whether your branded experiences are leaving a lasting impression or if they're leaving people a little bit underwhelmed. So go ahead and take the Brand Vitals assessment by visiting mybrandvitals.com and discover how to turn your every interaction into a moment your audience cannot stop talking about. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.